right, take two. Welcome to Rocked'On Detroit Lions podcast, Sunday night off the cuff. Of course, brought to you guys by Rocked'On Podcast Network. Thank you guys for joining me. I wasn't even going to do this tonight. I've been fighting all day trying to put things together in the studio. And one thing has been kicking my butt all day. I'm just trying to put up a partition of some curtains. And this is what I get for ordering something on Amazon. Fighting with two screws all day instead of just going to the hardware. And I keep looking at it because I'm angry. Like it makes me mad. So finally went to the hardware store and like, screw it. I'm just going to get what I need. Literally screw it. And we'll get it fixed. So one part of about 50 parts are done. And I have less than 72 hours to get it fixed, get everything ready to go and do a test run by Tuesday night. Oh man. All right. Suite is booked for Thursday night. We'll be in-house Thursday night for the draft party. Special guest with me that night will be Eric Rintamaki joining the Detroit Lions Club, which is our Detroit Lions season ticket club. I'll be honored to have him with us and excited. So we're getting excited for the draft. We got a lot to talk about, but there's a couple of things that have been popping up over the last few days, I guess. Last night, someone made me aware of this Matt Stafford video locked in by the Rams, and that there was some hot takes going around. And look, I'm just going to tell you what I feel like he said and how I feel this went down. And I want to watch it with you guys. So shout out Braylon Dennis, $2 super chat. Of course, Gibbs was at Verizon store on Woodward today. Maybe he was getting his new iPhone. Or maybe his phone was broken. Who knows? I'll get your entries added up, Braylon. Appreciate the donation. Yeah, Mike P. Eric is the Uper Rock man. Actually, Uper Light, which is a rock man. Yeah, I can't believe it's crazy how something so minute that's just everywhere changes your life. He literally picked up a rock one day and it changed his life. And I think that's just an incredible story. Again, I'm glad that he's part of these shows and hanging out. I appreciate him. So let's just get right into this thing. I'm going to play this. It's probably 10, 12 minutes. I may narrate, pause, in between and just kind of let you guys hear my side of it. But there's one thing that, and I'll probably repeat myself. I think that there's one thing that I want to be very clear on. Football is competitive. Sports are competitive. Fans are loyal. Well, most fans are loyal. Some fans that have, channels are apparently fans of all these different teams. I'm not going to go there. I'll leave it alone. But for the most part, fans are loyal. And I don't want to hear anything like extremely negative about Stafford because, and I'm going to pose a question to you guys at the end of this. I appreciate everything he did while he was in Detroit. He did everything that he could do. And I'll challenge someone to look up a stat, while we're watching this. How many fourth quarter come from behind victories did that man put on his back and give us those wins? And the one that is the most meaningful to me to this day is the fake spike versus Dallas. And I said this to someone last night. I firmly believe that because we embarrassed the crap out of Dallas with that play, that Dallas and the NFL have been after us ever since. So that could be why we keep traveling to Dallas. I don't know. But anyway, let's watch this. Let me bring it in. Let's talk about it. There's no opinion that's a bad opinion. So I just want to I want to clear the air, at least on my side here. And where in the world is this tab at? That's not it. That's not it. And then we'll get to some Lions news after this is done and some other things that's popping around the NFL. So let me make sure we got volume on this. It looks like it's ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to start it right at the wild card week where we are talking about Matthew Stafford and his wife, Kelly, and their journey heading back to Detroit. Here we go.
When we were 3-6 at the bye, they said less than 15% chance the Rams make the playoffs.
But work with me.
You guys just came back, went to work. What I think has been reflected in the last half of the season, we became more mentally tough. You got as much momentum as anybody else. Most people aren't tough enough to do what you guys have done. Where we were and where we are now, it may be different record-wise, but I really haven't.
So I'm going to say one thing real quick on this. 8 weeks in a row, the Rams battled for playoff possibilities. Because of that guy wearing number 9, I believe they were able to get it done. And that's exactly what he did in Detroit. I just don't think that he was ever surrounded with enough of a team. I think that he may have had 2 seasons that he had a decent team and a good defense, like a really good defense in 14. But outside of that, Stafford was never really given all of the weapons all at once. If he was on this team today, jeez, the things that, that he has been able to do throughout his career. And I'm not saying I would want any other quarterback because Jared Goff's my quarterback, but I just think that it would have been different for him. And I don't know if fans really care about that. Like Stafford laid out his heart for 12 seasons, more ways than one. So let's keep walking through it.
Sense much of a change of your guys' approach as we head into the playoffs. Trust that foundation that you've built.
Let him make a play.
You guys are writing a hell of a story. And however it ends up, man, let's just keep being us. And we don't change. We stay nice and steady. We enjoy this opportunity, man. And we're going to have a great week without a doubt, man. Let's enjoy it.
You'd almost be a robot to not feel certain things with the history and everything that he poured into that organization and what he's meant to that city.
It was 12 years in Detroit where I feel like we made a lasting impact on the community. Definitely did some stuff that we're really proud of that's still there and still ongoing.
Say Detroit is the charity, which the idea is that it's an after-school program.
First thing, I need one of those bobbleheads. I've been searching eBay like every other day. I ordered a bunch of bobbleheads to help build out the studio and build the collection. But the first thing that they start with, okay, it's not about any negativity. It's not about anger. It's not about resentment. It's about the charities and the things that the Stafford family and their partners and friends have put together in the city of Detroit, which millions and millions of dollars have been poured into Detroit by the Staffords and their friends. And this is the type of Matthew Stafford that I remember, is the guy that was involved in the community, the guy that was always giving back, the guy that had the city of Detroit, inside his heart. He's on a different team. When he comes back, well, you're on a different team. I'm not rooting for you that day, but you will always be part of Detroit's history and the Detroit Lions organization. He was a big part of it. I would hate to see some fans' hatred for whatever reason of Matthew Stafford. I don't understand it. Overshadow what he's done and how important he was to the city of Detroit in many ways. But this right here, kids.
We bring the kids here with our own fleet of buses. First thing we do is feed them, because a lot of these kids don't have a meal at all in their home. We feed them first, and then they go into our educational annex back there. Kelly and Matthew Stafford and Friends Educational Annex. Thanks to Kelly and Matthew, we put in an NFL synthetic field.
200 kids come use this building, and your daddy was the one who donated so that those kids had a place to come. We always talk about kids who don't have a lot, so it's pretty cool, yeah.
So, one, their audio terrible. I don't know if it's just the audio coming through, but their audio is not the greatest. Kelly was talking about, the kids that don't have a home or don't have a place. And this is while they were back in Detroit for this game, for Wild Card Week. So they're even giving back to Detroit during what is a huge rivalry, week. And all of the lead up to that game already had started way before this. All the burn Stafford jerseys and don't wear a Stafford jersey and all the other things that were said happened before they arrived in Detroit. But they still wanted to go continue on and see the things that they built and that, they're coming back to and how it's still going. So again, this is the Matthew Stafford that I will always remember, but we'll keep watching.
being back in a place where you spent 12 years and you had all your children, and we had a lot of big things happen there, including my surgery, where I felt like that city really rallied behind me. The feelings of being back in a place like that are hard to control.
Go Rip, go Rip, go Rip. Nope.
Maybe in like November, someone said something about it. Like, hey, there's a possibility this could happen. I was like, no. When it happened, I took a deep inhale and was like, holy hell, we're going back.
We hadn't been back into that stadium since we said goodbye to it.
It was definitely kind of a weird feeling. Never been through the back entrance, never done the security the way that the opposing team has to do the security. Walked through the tunnel for the first time, like I always do before games, kind of just peek outside, see what's going on. I've been there so many times in my life. It's a different feeling, and I loved it.
All right, so let me address a couple of things, real quick. This is a business, right? I mean, the NFL is a business. So Stafford leaving Detroit wasn't necessarily just Stafford's decision. As a player, you can go to your team and say, hey, I don't want to play here anymore. And they could say, sorry, you're under contract. But they know that that's not good for the team dynamic over the long haul. The way that this team was going to be rebuilt was exactly what Brad Holmes did. And it took two to tango here. Whether they say that Stafford went to the team and requested a trade because he didn't want to go through yet again, his fourth rebuild, fifth offensive coordinator. How could you blame anybody for wanting to go through that all over again? I mean, the guy literally had 5 different offensive schemes in 12 seasons. You can't be successful with that. And I think that the proof is there, right? They weren't successful because they kept changing things. They kept changing coaches. They kept changing offensive coordinators. The general manager couldn't, draft his way out of a paper bag in every single season. It seemed like we got a few good players here or there, but largely we were in cap purgatory, and it was a big nightmare for all of those years. The team could never be rebuilt the right way without Brad Holmes doing what he decided to do, which was to trade Matthew Stafford, stack some picks in the first round, and bring in a good quarterback that he knew that he had confidence in. That's all that this was. Stafford didn't just leave cold, see ya, peace, I'm gone. No, it was a business decision. And sometimes you have to look at things a little bit deeper than just, well, Stafford left. Well, no, Stafford was traded by the general manager, Brad Holmes. He didn't just leave. He was under contract. He didn't hold out. He didn't throw a pissy party, right? He made a business decision with Brad Holmes, was open to the trade, was traded. It's that simple. It's that cut and dry. There shouldn't be anything else interjected into it. Being loyal to your team, I am too. I'm loyal to every single player that is on that team. I just don't understand this negative connotation that is surrounding one of the greatest quarterbacks, one, to ever play the game, two, to ever play in Detroit. It doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't.
All my poor friends, I was like, yeah, let's walk. We're going to be fine. It was miserable. Absolutely freezing.
Yeah. So Ryan, he did request a trade, but it was a 2-party system here. He didn't want to go through the rebuild again. It was going to be another few seasons. He didn't know how much longer he was going to be able to play. If you remember, he had that really bad back injury. He had no idea if he was going to be able to really continue to play. And he wanted to win a Super Bowl. You can't blame the guy. He gave it 12 seasons, 5 offensive coordinators, 4 coaches, I think, 4 general managers. I think he gave it his all, to be honest with you. I think the 50,000 plus yards that he threw in Detroit speak for that. And the 40 plus game winning drives in the fourth quarter, I think also speak to that.
Freezing.
Hell, it's cold.
But I did that because it was the same walk I always used to make.
Matthew Stafford returns to the Motor City with the Los Angeles Rams.
booed the shit out.
So this is just all competitive nature, right? I mean, he's feeding off of the negative energy. He's feeding off of the booze. It's expected. You know, he's on a different team. This is where, you know, the game starts, the competitive nature starts. And now you are 1,000% all in with your team, which of course I was, and everybody around me was. It was a sea of blue everywhere.
Out of me, which was cool.
When he was booed coming out, it was a good closure for me to be like, I want to kind of rip their hearts out.
Fired me up to go out there and try and throw for 400 and a bunch of touchdowns and let them know what they were missing.
These two quarterbacks.
All right, so let me address this part. The Kelly Stafford saying I kind of wanted to rip their hearts out. I think there's a reason why she said kinda, because her heart is still in the city of Detroit as well. You know, she doesn't always say the most politically correct things in the world, but saying something like that is just all competitive nature. That's all it is. She's just saying, I want my team to win. You got to remember, she's on a different team now, too. She's now supporting the Rams, and Matthew Stafford, her husband, on the Rams. She's not supporting the Detroit Lions, but her heart is still in Detroit. She's still giving back millions of dollars through her husband's charity of his dollars that he's earning, and her connections that she's made and their friends to the city of Detroit. And I think that's the light that people maybe are kind of missing here is there's some things that are bigger than football. And then there's the game. This is the game. This is all expected. The booze, you know, I want to beat your team. That's all expected. I mean, why wouldn't it be?
Quarterbacks drafted #1 overall were traded for each other.
Have a good one, brother. Yep.
Tremendously grateful for the time that we had with Jared, but I wouldn't want anyone else in the world to be our quarterback than Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. Kiss. All right, baby. Love you.
Let's go, baby.
This is where it gets fun, man. Liam crushed him a couple times.
Matthew Stafford made one of the best throws I've seen this year. Sidearm, but watch what happens.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God.
His hand follows through right into the helmet of Aleem McNeil.
Oh, yeah, he hit his hand on his helmet. He's fine. He's fine.
You kind of get into a mode where, hey, I'm going to continue going until there's something that they're not letting me go back in with.
Matthew alone in the shotgun. He has it. Deep down the left side. Took it behind the defense. Got the 20. Slips into the end zone. Touchdown, LA!
We score the first touchdown in Detroit, and I'm running around. I know that exactly where my family's sitting, and I'm looking up with my arms wide open.
Boos rain down. He is the bad guy now.
My thumb's killing me.
What'd you do?
I hit somebody's helmet. What do you got? Oh, God.
Had some ribs at a certain point that I got hit again in the playoff game. I was like, well, I know I'm not coming out of this game. Go through the first half relatively clean. I don't feel anything, and then scramble up the middle and fall right on the ball again, and I'm like, oh, of course, right?
God, that sucked. God, that sucked.
Oh, my God, right on these ribs. Landed right on the ball again.
Don't be mad, Mommy. There's still more chances.
Yeah, let's go. There's plenty of time, girlfriend.
Clock running, 4:23 before halftime. Rams down 21-10.
Hey, can it!
Stafford steps under center, now audibles and backs up to the gun. Motioning from left to right, Puka Nacua. Stafford has it, fires right side, it is caught. 2-2 Atwell. Touchdown! The Rams are back within one score.
So that's a play that I want to go back and look. Like, what did he see that AG left open? AG left something open there. For Stafford to see it and kill the play, that see, now I'm going into game mode as opposed to reviewing this. I'm just trying to get to the end.
Our offense just needs to keep doing what we're doing. Just keep it safe. Let's go.
He was wide open.
Stafford from the gun on a critical 3rd and 12 from the Detroit 13.
That was the one. So that was the hit, man. That was the hit where his eyes rolled in the back of his head, and he got hit hard, super hard. These Lions defenders, man, they were coming for him.
And on 4th down, Sean McVay is going to send out his field goal unit.
Stafford, watch him here as he gets crushed by Hutchinson.
Ow.
Is he all right?
Ribs, buddy. Ribs. How was that not late? Yeah.
He's not coming out of this game.
I don't think so either.
Where Matthew Stafford is hunched over, and he is very gingerly going to be escorted to the bench area. My goodness, what a potential situation that is.
God, please come out of the tent. Please come out of the tent.
I don't know what the right thing to do is here, buddy. I've had so many ribs as a quarterback. I feel like you just get them all the time, and you realize, you know, it's something in there that the treatment for it's not going to change.
Matthew Stafford has come out.
See, this is the Stafford that I will always remember. The guy that got the crap absolutely kicked out of him, and he would still come into the game and lay it all on the line for the team, ultimately the city of Detroit, the fans. That's who I remember. That's who I'm always going to remember. Now, come game day, I'm not rooting for the guy, but this is the dude that gave us so many smiles, right? I mean, we went through a lot of ups and downs during the time that Stafford was on this team, but this is the guy that gave us a ton of wins because of his guts and his determination, his toughness, his grit. I mean, grit wasn't you really used a whole lot back then, but you want to talk about someone that's got grit. This dude does. And this is what I will always remember is all of the times that this guy took us into the 4th quarter and got us a W when we didn't think it was possible. When you're down by 15 points or whatever the score was, and we have these crazy comebacks. I have so many memories driving with my kids on a Sunday, separated household. So, you know, having to get them back at a certain time and we had to leave at like halftime or something. And we're listening to the game in the car and you can just see it, right? You can see it going on in your head, left to right on the stereo, and Stafford's running down the field and it's the 4th quarter. And next thing you know, you get a win and the car erupts and your kids are hugging you. And it's like, those are the memories that I'm going to keep. Those are the memories of Stafford that I want to hold, you know, as being a Detroit Lion when he was, you know, and who knows, maybe he will be again someday. Maybe he comes back for a one-day contract and retires. Doubtful, but it's possible. You know, I don't know that after, you know, his last homecoming with the way that the fans treated him, if that's something that he would ever think about doing. But I think that there's an overwhelming majority of fans that do appreciate what Stafford did when he was a Detroit Lion. We'll keep watching. We're almost done with this.
Detroit has seen Stafford tough.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hey. Dude, stop. That's what you're about to do. That guy did everything he could do in his power to will us to a victory that night. He was gutsy, he was gritty, he was accurate, he was tough, he was big in crunch time moments.
Matthew Stafford is like a fighter who's been knocked down twice already, keeps getting up off the mat and throwing haymakers.
We're going to have to be aggressive, okay? Let's go fight for that rock.
Biggest play of the night here in Detroit. 3rd and 14, Rams at the Lions 44.
Commish. Commish.
Intended receiver, and he took a smack.
Matthew
Matthew Stafford had his chances. They give it back to Jared Goff, who has a chance to get a bit of payback.
Hey, we get it back. It's probably going to be about a minute left. Let's operate our ass off. All right, let's go.
First down wins it for the Lions because the Rams only have one timeout left. Jared Goff set up in the shotgun. Fires left side. Caught the 40. Reaching
there it is.
Down. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Lions.
Good enough for Detroit, Jared.
It's a first down inside 2 minutes.
Game didn't go down the way we wanted it to in the end. Felt we made some good plays, but left a couple out there.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Keep going. I appreciate you, brother. Hey, good luck, man. You got your ball. Keep it going.
Nothing but respect, man. So Stafford had nothing but respect for Jared after the game. That, you know, those are the things that we expect from a true professional, that, you know, he's going to keep the outside noise. He's there to be a professional in that moment. That's what he was. That's who he is.
There comes a point at the end of the seasons where it's like, I don't know how many more years I'm going to get to do this.
I miss you too, brother.
How long can I continue to play at a high level? How long can I be healthy? Can we be successful as a team?
Hopefully convince him to keep playing, because he's like a fine wine.
All right, there's no more Detroit Lions stuff in the rest of this video, so I'm gonna cancel it out here. So look, guys, I just wanted to roll through this because, you know, there's all these weird negative energies out there, and I totally appreciate everyone's opinion. I haven't read a ton of the chat. You guys are going nuts with it. Great job, by the way. And at the end of the day, I just don't understand hate. You know, I don't have a place for it, I guess, in my heart. But to each his own. I mean, you guys can root for whoever you want. I root for my Detroit Lions just like you do. But the one thing I won't do is try to be negative about, you know, any little thing. You know, I just don't want to be. I don't want to be negative. But I at least wanted to share what he said, you know, and what Kelly said. I don't know if this was shared with everybody, if anybody has even really had a chance to watch it or seen it, because it's just not part of our team. I didn't even know it existed until last night. So that's what he said. I didn't see anything extremely negative in here. I mean, he wanted to win the game. Of course he did. So did Jared. So did everybody else. So did Puka. But so I told you I was going to save something to the end. And this is it. And this is what I'm going to ask you. Had Calvin Johnson not retired, and Calvin Johnson been traded to the Rams, and Calvin Johnson came back instead of Matthew Stafford, would you have done the same? If you were part of the crowd that was extremely negative towards Stafford coming back home, or his first home as an NFL professional, would you have done the same to Calvin Johnson? I don't think you're telling the truth, Adam. So I think that people would have been cheering for their team, but I don't think that they would have been extremely negative towards Calvin Johnson. For whatever reason, Stafford just got a brunt of everybody's negative energy. So it is what it is. Booing is one thing. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with booing. With, you know, the guy, you know, coming onto the field, nothing wrong with that. It was the whole lead up to it. You know, it was the burn the jerseys, don't wear the jerseys. I mean, Calvin Johnson's another guy that's good, you know, a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he retired a Lion on his own terms. Stafford's continuing on with his career with another team, but he will be a Hall of Famer. And a lot of that is because of what he did in Detroit. And then he got his Super Bowl ring, unfortunately, in another uniform. So that's it. That's it for that part of it. Let's talk about some other things that have popped up here today, and a little bit of draft talk. So there was this report that came out by heavy.com talking about the Lions, you know, should steer clear of a potential prospect. And we know that the Lions need a cornerback pretty badly. At least some of us think that. At least I do. Someone that is, you know, going to be part of the future, not so much these one and dones, you know, these 1-year contract guys. We need someone that's going to grow with the team. And Enos Rakestraw, who has been highly projected to become a Detroit Lion in the second round, is apparently one of the most divisive cornerback prospects in this draft class. Let me find the statement in here. I don't know where the statement is. But anyway, so I guess, according to this report by heavy.com, that the Lions should stay away from Enos Rakestraw. I found it interesting. I got to find this little statement in here that I read. I don't know where it is. But anyway, I found that interesting. So I'm going to keep moving on here. What else do we have? News and notes going around the NFL today. According to Pride of Detroit, the Lions have a couple of connections for a couple of draft day trades, which obviously we're going to talk more about that on Wednesday. But according to Pride of Detroit, it says with the 2024 NFL draft just days away, one of the hot button topics surrounding the Lions is whether they will stay put at pick 29 or make a draft day trade. Lions general manager Brad Holmes is aggressive in acquiring players, and he has used his available trade capital to make several draft day moves in each of his 3 previous drafts. And then it talks about what we did in 21, 23. It goes on to say that after Holmes' wheeling and dealings last year, there's been a ton of speculation on whether he will continue to be aggressive and make trades in this draft. When asked about the possibility of trading out of the first round, even though the draft is being held in Detroit, Holmes insists that he'll do what's best for the team and is not scared to make a trade. The quote by Brad Holmes, which you've heard me say before, is, "We have to do the right thing for the organization. And if it makes sense and it lines up, it's the right thing to do. We have to do the right thing." So I firmly believe that if there's one team out there that is going to be extremely open to options of moving up or moving back, I think it is the Lions. I think it is every year. And the reason why is the board that Brad Holmes has put together, the top draft picks that, he wants to bring, to Detroit, they may not line up where we're picking. And he's got to do something to get those guys. If there's a team that is going to allow him to trade, he's going to take that opportunity. Be that as it may, though, if he has to trade back and we do not have a pick in the first round, I'm not going to be mad at it. Yeah, I'm going to spend a whole day in Detroit. There's a lot of money that's spent. There's a lot of travel time. And I'm going to take in the whole thing. It's going to be a whole event. It's going to be well over 250,000 people in the city. And not to mention that, but there's also a Tigers game going on, which makes no sense. So I was on the phone earlier today with Eric Rentamaki, and he had the same kind of really good idea. Like, why didn't they just use all the venues? You probably could have packed out Little Caesars Arena. You could have probably packed out Tiger Stadium. My thought was, man, they could have just used Tiger Stadium to host the darn event. You could have filled up that entire place with seating. I don't even know how many holds, 50,000, 40,000, something like that. Still could have had Ford Field rocking. Still could have dressed up, the park. It would have been, I think they missed out. Personally, I think that whoever put this together completely missed the opportunity to utilize these 3 giant venues that are all within a stone's throw of each other, and to make it kind of cool, in between, little things to do in between. So that, hey, we'll never be able to do it again, more than likely, but they kind of missed the opportunity here. Art Vandelay says, trading with the Falcons for the number 8 pick, Dallas Turner. Book it. So here's the funny thing about Dallas Turner. He's been high on my list. He's one of the guys that I projected to be the best overall defensive end in this draft with a high ceiling. I think that Jared Verse is the best overall immediately. Like someone that's going to come in day one, he's going to lay the wood. But Dallas Turner, I think he's going to grow into something special. And you're going to have to get him in the top 10. The way that some of these mock drafts, which are meaningless to a degree, are shaping up right now, Dallas Turner's not going to make it past the Falcons. So with that being said, do I want the Lions to move up to 8? Not necessarily. No, not necessarily. I don't. I think it would be exciting because we'd be getting one of the best players not named a quarterback. I mean, truly, one of the best players in the draft at any position that's not a quarterback. So it would be exciting, but to move up to 8, I think is going to be quite costly. It's going to be at least 2025 first round pick, at least, if not, an extra second or third round pick thrown in there potentially. So Eric, they're playing Friday and Saturday, so not Thursday. You said? I thought you said they were playing on Thursday. So I don't even look at their schedule. I quit watching Tigers baseball a while ago. Oh yeah, I definitely would get a Verse jersey myself. Someone was asking earlier. Someone was asking earlier about buying jerseys. We did a little jersey reveal the other night. We bought a bunch already, and we got more coming. Nothing else came today. I was a little disappointed. Amazon stuff, but nothing from Fanatics. Naba Music Studio. I have no clue what you're saying. Not a clue. Not a clue. Oh, so they're not playing Thursday night. Well, they're going to be there Friday, and apparently Saturday too. So pretty busy weekend in Detroit. I mean, you're going to have a ton of people down there and games going on at the same time. It's going to be absolutely insane, especially for parking. If you haven't bought parking, you're not going to get parking, and you're better off just parking outside the city and Ubering in anyway. But then good luck trying to get an Uber on the way back if you don't schedule it now. Brent says, as far as edge, I think that we would be looking at Darius at 29. I don't think Darius makes it right now. I don't think he makes it to 29. It all depends on what happens in this draft. If there's anything less than probably 6 offensive tackles before 29. Let me take that back. If there's anything less than probably 7 offensive linemen, well, I should just do the math. I don't think that Robinson is going to be there. Let's see here. So if we have, let's say we'll err on the side of caution, 4 quarterbacks, 2 corners, 7 offensive linemen, 4 wide receivers, 3 edge, 2 defensive linemen, 1 linebacker. What am I missing here? What am I missing? 1 tight end. That's 24 players. And I think once that number of players in that respective position come off the board, that's where Darius Robinson's more than likely going to go. So at 25, 26, 27, 28, all those picks are going to end up being, well, you got your extra corner. So you got Kool-Aid, Darius, Chop, a few other players too. I think it's going to be tough. I think the Lions, if they're going to move up, they got to get up at least above, like with the Eagles, trade with the Eagles. I think that's where they need to be, or further, all the way up to 12. Joseph Ostin, I wonder how many of these guys have Holmes' first round grades. Yeah, I thought last year was 14. I got 15 this year. Adam, how do you feel about Mike S at 29? Who's Mike S? You talking about Saint Restrill? Saint Restrill's not. He's too short. He's not an outside corner. We need an outside corner. He's too small. Mike, I don't think Mike's going in the first round either. I think he'll probably be second round, mid second round. Naba Music Studio thinks we're drafting an offensive lineman. We could. It depends. It depends on how many go, how many good ones go. So you said he had a normal amount of first round grades. I don't know what that means, Adam. Like, I don't think anyone knows what normal is with Brad Holmes because he is so unnormal, if that makes sense. I know it's not really a word, but he's just not normal with how he does things. He's completely opposite of normal in my opinion. Like, the guy just does what he feels and what he knows to be best, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's why he's successful. So M Live brought up this with the Lions. Obviously, Brad Holmes striking gold last season with Sam Laporta. But could the Lions look for more at the tight end position? So one of my takes a while ago was the Detroit Lions, I think, would be smart to draft, like a Theo Johnson late third round. If they do pick up a fourth round pick and Theo Johnson's still there, I think that he would be a great addition to this team. Look, Brock Wright, he's locked up for 3 seasons. Doesn't mean you can't trade him next year or the year after that, in the offseason. But to grab someone that is young, that has that kind of talent, that doesn't have to be a number one, really just needs to be a really good number 3. James Mitchell just hasn't produced enough. He hasn't done enough to prove to me, at least anyway. And when I do watch tape and I do look at, what he's doing on the field, that he's good enough. I don't think he's good enough in the blocking game, and he's definitely not shown us anything in the passing game. So for that reason, I do believe that the Lions would draft a tight end if the right one is there, the one that they obviously like. And I know that's such an oxymoron because why wouldn't you draft somebody you like? But it just means that if the draft lines up right for them and they were able to be successful with their first few picks early in the draft and get the players that they wanted, or at least, the players that were on their board that made sense to help this team out, I think that that's where the Lions could look to grab a tight end. Just because we have 4 or 5 on the roster right now doesn't mean that we're not looking at one. Yeah, J-Rod, he says that Brad Holmes makes circles fit into the square hole. He does, man. Better the Hunt says Brandon. Never mind. Adam, can you break down of how we can manage to get picks 33 and 39 from Carolina involving 29? Yeah, let's give it a shot. Let me pull up the draft pick calculator. I got to go turn off my fan again, man. I don't know why it is so cold. It was so hot in here. Probably because I was moving around being Bob Vila. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I don't have the remote. I'll tell you what, I am feeling my age today. Feeling it. All right, so let me get this up on the screen. We'll make it look a little prettier here. Okay, so if Lions are trading pick 29 and you want what? Norm did all the work. Well, whoever did the work today, they screwed it all up because I was literally screwing around with a screw for about 6 hours today. What does that tell you? I'm really good at making stuff, fixing things. I mean, whatever. There's nothing I can't fix, build, or create. It's just today was a rough day for whatever reason. So anyway, you wanted 30 from Carolina picks, 33 and 39. I mean, those are perfect picks, are they not? Perfect picks. So if we were just to calculate it as a straight up, Lions would have to make up about 700 points. So let's throw in pick 61 right away. And we're very close. So I would do that all day. I would trade 29 and 61 for 33 and 39 in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat, I would do that. Now, Carolina's probably not going to do that, but why would Carolina? So where is 33 Carolina's first pick? Is it their first pick of the draft? I think it is. Who did they trade their first round pick to? I don't remember now. So anyway, yep, that's their first pick. So if there's somebody that they want, obviously not a quarterback, right? I mean, they believe that they have their quarterback. I wouldn't believe that, but they believe they have their quarterback. If there's somebody that they want that 5th-year option on, then yeah, of course, moving up 4 spots and back into the first round makes a lot of sense. Makes a ton of sense. Good point. If they want to jump KC, they would. Absolutely. So if there's somebody they really want, I wouldn't be surprised if Brad Holmes hasn't already worked out some framework on this, because you'd have a little bit of leverage here by having a first round pick to where you could probably trade 29, maybe 73. Maybe 73 makes more sense. Now you're only about what, 270 points difference, 268, 267, somewhere in that range. It almost makes more sense that, you're giving Carolina the better option by moving into the first round, getting a 5th-year option on a player, which has to be worth something, right? It has to be. And you drop to 33 and 39 and still keep 61. Lions would probably have their best draft yet, to be honest with you. Outside of last year, it's going to be tough to top last year. But I think that would really shape up, a great opportunity, for the Lions to pick some amazing players. So let me pull up a mock draft here. Let's take a look at who's mock draft. Let's take a look at Mel Kiper, I think. I haven't looked at his in a while. Mel Kiper's favorite prospects by position. No, I don't want that one. We'll do the 3-round mock draft where him and Field Yates did their thing. So if that's where the Lions, what do you mean I'm not signed in? Oh, I've got to sign in real quick. It's crazy that you got to have all these stupid accounts now to even look at somebody's mock draft. So if we were to look at this mock draft, then let's go 33 and 39. Let's see who's available. Darius Robinson at 29. I love it. But let's just say, he's doing a trade with the Rams, with the Rams taking a quarterback of the future. So let's see who's available. You got Keon Coleman. Darius Robinson, I do believe. Let me wind this back. So Xavier Legette going to Kansas City, I think that makes sense. Jordan Morgan to San Francisco makes sense. Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Ravens probably makes sense. But if Darius Robinson is available at 29, I could see Darius going to all three of those teams and not make it to 33. So I would say that Darius is probably still off the board. He would probably go somewhere else, between 29 and 33. But you got Keon Coleman, Enos Rakestraw, who we were just talking about, TJ Tampa, Bo Nix, not worried about him. Lad McConkey. So I like Kingsley. I do like Kingsley. Mason Smith. I don't know enough about Mason Smith. So you got a lot of receivers, and then Jackson Powers Johnson slipping all the way to 44. How is that even possible? Adisa Isaac, Marshawn Nealon, Jerzon Newton slipping all the way to 49. I mean, like I said in the very beginning of this season, I was not high on Newton. I just don't see it being that bad. Max Melton. I mean, so you've got a ton of really good talent. Mike Sainristil at 52, kind of where I thought that he would be. Edrin Cooper Beebe. But I do believe that if you do 33 and 39, yeah, you'll get a couple really good players, but you're going to miss out on the Kool-Aids. You're going to miss out on Darius. You're going to miss out on Chop and, all of these other guys. Jared Verse. If Jared Verse even slips to this far, I can't imagine that the Lions would not be on the phone. If the Pittsburgh Steelers picked Graham Barton, I can't imagine that the Lions would not be on the phone immediately with the Dolphins working something out at 21. I just don't. There's no way that they wouldn't. I can't imagine that they wouldn't. I really can't. So, yeah, I mean, if you do 33 and 39, there's going to be some good players available. I just feel like some of these players that we're looking for. Oh, why can't I see myself on the screen? Can you guys see me? What happened? There we go. Now I'm back. Something's going on. I don't know. Anyway, like I was saying, if the Lions did that, I think they're going to miss out on some really good players, but I do like those picks. See, my thing is, if you do trade back, those are the kinds of picks that make the most sense. Stacking them early into the second round and not going extremely deep. How far did it go dark and black? Or I was talking about, I was kind of rolling through Mel Kiper's thing. You guys saw all that, right? I'm just going to look on my phone. I'm interested now. What's happening, James? How you doing, man? Let's see how far back it went. Can you not rewind? All right, so it was going through it. Looks like we didn't lose too much. Okay, so what's on deck next, guys? Who's all going to the draft? Who's going to be down there? Do you have any moves that could surprise you? If you're talking about the Lions, nothing would surprise me. Absolutely nothing would surprise me with Brad Holmes. I just, nothing's off the table for him. John Desage will be there. Greg Warner's going to watch it on TV. James got to work. I mean, Can't we like call in for you or something? J-Rod's not able to go. Mike P will be there. Adam's going to a draft party. You guys make sure call in dead. You guys got to make sure you're here for this draft party on Wednesday, which I need to get back to getting prepped for. So this is going to be a real short show. It won't be a 2-hour show. I'm going to be ending it here pretty quickly. I really wanted to address the Matt Stafford thing, kind of talk about a little bit of news and notes, things going around. There's just nothing going on right now. There's really nothing. It is dark city when it comes to news right now. Like, we really have to reach to do content. And that's kind of why I've taken a quasi break over the last several weeks, not doing a lot of videos, just because I need the time to be able to get ready for the rest of the season. And after the draft, things kind of go nuts for a couple of months. And I want to look back at one more thing. There's this NFL Trade Rumors website that I came across. Here's what they had to say. They said for the Lions, after a deep postseason run, the Lions are in the bottom of the first round, inside of the top. Detroit general manager Brad Holmes doesn't feel like their approach will change that much, despite being on the opposite end of the first round. The quote was, "You're kind of looking at a different level of player, and it is what it is." So I think that tells you right there, there's no first round grades at 29, because you're looking at a different. You got to break down what Brad Holmes says. If he tells you that he has a normal amount of first round grades and then tells you you're looking at a different level of player at 29, then that means that there's not a first round grade at 29 unless they slip. He goes on to say that, excuse me, I got the yawns all of a sudden. We just take the same approach, but I don't see picking lower as any more or less pressure. First of all, it's got to be the right guy. You guys have seen us and how we operated in the past. If it's the player that we want, we're going to go and get him. But there are a lot of boxes that need to be checked. I appreciate that about Brad Holmes. I really do. Like, they are very diligent about who they select, how they select, where they select, why they select. They check all of their own boxes before they even entertain taking a player. But you heard it from Brad. If it's the right guy and it's someone that they like, they're going to go get him. So that's why there's nothing off the table in this draft. Absolutely nothing. Without the first 4 picks, I think, being in question. Anything after that, I think it's on the board. So with that, I mean, let's think about this for a second. Are we pretty confident that the Chargers want to move back? I would say that a lot of analysts are, that the Chargers are more inclined to adding draft capital. And if that's the case, pick 5's wide open for anybody that wants to go up and get it, as long as there's enough in trade capital back to them. I just don't know if 29 is enticing enough for the Chargers to still end up with their guy. Anyway, let me move on with this. So there was some information here about the Vikings and talking about Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores mentioned he didn't get any interview requests during the most recent head coaching cycle. I don't really care about that. I mean, your defense wasn't that great, so And I mean, it's different, but it wasn't that great. That's really all they had to say about the NFC North. Here's what I got to say about the NFC North. The Bears can get really good in this draft. If they were smart, I think that they would try to back off one of their picks. They can get really good. The Vikings are going to get really good. They have 2 picks in the first round. I'd say at this point right now that it is a 50-50 shot that they move up into the top 10. 50-50. Like, into the top 5, I should say. And the reason why I say that is if the draft goes the way that it's supposed to go with the first 3 picks, the Vikings may not need to move up. But depending on who has been taken, if Washington takes Jaden Daniels, I think that's where the Vikings probably will stay put. And I'm saying that now. I might change that on Wednesday, but if they take Jaden Daniels, they may stay put. Because then I think the Patriots might want to take Drake May. And in my opinion, Drake May projects a lot like Justin Herbert. Big guy, big arm, moves pretty well in and out of the pocket. Solid intangibles, good dude. Projects better than JJ McCarthy would at pick 3. But then that leaves the Vikings with JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, anybody they want at 11. And I don't think that that's a bad route to go. I think that if you want to build your team back up and give, your team the best opportunity to grow and grow quickly, it's managing those first round picks and keeping them and getting, the players that will help you, but not necessarily break the bank to move up to grab a quarterback. I mean, I just don't see how the Vikings would think that they're going to compete this year at a high level. I mean, they've lost a lot of players, a lot of big name players that helped that team go. I think that they're in a minor rebuild. I think that the Bears are just a mess. And other than that, the Packers are, they're like a firecracker that didn't go off. You just don't know what's going to happen when you approach it. Is it going to go bang or is it just going to be a dud? I think that's kind of the way the Packers draft is about to go. Depending on, what they see as a game changer for them in 2024, the Packers could potentially back off too and add more draft capital if someone wants their pick. I mean, obviously there has to be a give and a take. I don't think that that's any secret, but I just don't know who the Packers are really targeting this year to help that team grow quickly. I would say it would be an offensive tackle because their offensive line, not the greatest last year, but we'll see what happens. Warren King says if the Lions trade up to 5, the only player with a high enough value is a wide receiver. Odunze would be your pick there. Yeah, I think that 5 is a bit early for for anything other than a receiver. I think that you're right there. Unless you really value some defensive players. We got Anzalone's anal bone in here. Jeez, little Pete, you guys' names are just second to none. Turner or Marvin Harrison Jr.? Where at, Bucky? You talking at 5? I think that Marvin Harrison might be gone to Arizona. I really do. Unless they trade back and add even more draft capital. So I guess to answer that question, Adam, I mean, just basically, going on what someone else, Warren King, just said in there too. Every time I see Warren King, I want to say Warren G. Yeah, I mean, look, if that's who you feel is going to help your team win right now, I don't think it really matters. I think it's whoever is best on your board. And if Brad Holmes has a wide receiver before edge right now, before Turner or Verse, then it's a no-brainer. I just don't know. I think 2-5's. I think moving up 2-5 is a little early for the Lions. I don't think it's possible. Well, I shouldn't say that. Anything's possible, but I think it's too much draft capital. Brad would have to sell the farm. Here, let's take a look at that, and then we'll jump off for tonight because I really got to get back to work. Recent top 5 draft pick trades. I can't remember the recent trades. Why is it not like nothing is popping up? I hate the internet. Like, I absolutely hate the internet. It is so like wrong nowadays. Like, you can't search anything. You get a bunch of crap. It's terrible. It's just loaded with everybody that thinks they're a writer. Let's see here. Can anybody remember what were the most recent draft day trades? In the top 5? Yeah, number 3 overall. Texans, right? So let's look at that one. The Cardinals, they received. So the Lions at 6 last year, right? So the Lions received number 12 and 34 for number 6. And I think we got fleeced on that deal because when you look at number 3, the Texans received number 3 and 105, but gave up 12, 33, a 2024 first, and a 2024 third. How did the Lions only get 12 and 34 for trading 3 places later? That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, we should have gotten at least an extra third out of the deal. Don't you think? At least. Now I'm going to have to do it. Now we're going to have to look at it. I'm going to put it up on the screen. There you go, Bucky. I like where your head's at, but I just don't think that's I don't think that's legit. It's funny though. They were colluding back in 23 for 24 and how their season was going to finish. That's hilarious. All right, let me pull this up. Let's take a look at it. So I guess this never registered last year when this went down. I don't know why, but so let's take a look at what the Texans did. They 3 and 105, and they gave up 12, 33. Where was the Texans' first round pick this year? I don't have it up. 2024. So the Texans would be the Cardinals' second pick in the first round. That'd be 27. All right. So it'll be 27 this year. And it would be their 2024 third round pick. One second here. So that'd be pick 90, right? I think it's pick 90. Yeah, that's insanity to me. So the Texans gave up 3,227 points for 1,905. That's I mean 69% improvement by the Cardinals. And then let's look at what the Lions did. So the Lions gave up, or I'm sorry, the Lions traded 6. They got back 12 and 34. Oh, I got all these extra picks in there. So remember, 69% improvement for Cardinals, 31% improvement for the Lions. So yeah, I added them all in, Bucky. I did all 4 of the picks. I did all of them for the Texans and Cardinals trade last year for number 3. And then I just did the Lions six pick. That, I mean, somewhere in between would be 5, right? Elizabeth. So I'll be back on Wednesday. I'm not going to be doing Monday. I don't want, unless anything pops up between now and Wednesday. I won't be back on until Wednesday. So yeah, this doesn't make any sense to me. When you look at the next trade that happened last year for number 9, the Eagles moved up to number 9 and they gave up the 10th overall and a 2024 4th round pick. That's almost, it's not, I'll say it's not exactly what the Lions did, but I mean, how did the Lions only get a 31%? So I think that they should have gotten a 3rd rounder. Let's just say, who did they trade with again? They traded with the Cardinals. Let's just say that we would have gotten that 3rd round pick. That would have made my day. We would have had an extra 3rd round pick this year. If we would have had pick 90, I would have been over the moon with it. Adam, what wasn't the full trade? I'm looking at the full trade right here. Let me show you. There you go. The Cardinals received the 6th. The Lions received 12 and 34. I mean, am I missing something? This was reported by CBS. What am I missing? So they don't have it right? Okay, so let's add those other ones in there. So 6 and 81. 1234, 168. Even worse. Here, let me put these the other way around. Let's go 12 and 6. 34, 81, 168 and 0. So according to this calculator, the Lions, I mean, they gave up a little bit less, right? But you're talking minimal improvement here. About a 12%, 10, 12% improvement. And the team that, the Texans, Cardinals trade before that was a 69% improvement. Just 3 spots ahead of them. So I guess like what I'm saying is if we would have got 90, this year's 90, I mean, I guess I would have been, here we go, put it over here. This would have made me a little bit more happy. 24% improvement. Still not as good as what the Cardinals did, but we got our guy. Apparently, I mean that's what Brad Holmes thinks. So we got our guy by taking Jameson Williams. The one thing that I'll end with today is if the Lions move anywhere, and I don't see a whole lot of injured guys, outside of Kool-Aid and Cooper DeJean, there's no one really projecting in the first round to come into the league injured right now. But if somehow the Lions ended up with one of those 2 guys, Kool-Aid I think is fine. Cooper I think is fine. But if the Lions were to move in this draft again and grab a guy that was injured, which again, I just don't see happening. I really don't see that there's a whole lot of guys injured in this draft that make a whole lot of sense to come to the Lions. I mean, how does that make you feel drafting injured guys, especially moving up into the first round and grabbing a guy with an ACL? Now, Jameson hasn't done a whole lot yet. There's been plenty of rumors around that Jameson could be trade bait on draft day to move up to grab another wide receiver. I don't know if that makes sense yet or if it's possible. I don't know what the Lions would really get in return that makes sense. Giving up a first round pick, you're not going to get a first round pick. So I guess those are my 2 questions that I'll leave you guys with until Wednesday. If there was another injured player that the Lions would move around for, how does that make you feel? Number 1. Number 2, moving off of a player in this draft and trading up, taking JMO, packaging him up, trading up, how would that make you feel? It doesn't even matter what the player is or who the player is. Is there anybody on the Lions team that you would want to package into a trade to try to move forward? So Latu, I mean, I guess that's the one that concerns me the most. He's fine right now, but that neck injury, that scares me. The neck injury history to me, I think is a big no-no. You shy away from it. I don't know what's going on with Jerzon Newton. I didn't know that he was injured. Is he injured? Or was he injured? So he had a fracture in his foot last season that he dealt with all season. So did he have an off-season surgery or anything to correct it? He had a Jones fracture as well. So same thing that Kool-Aid McKinstry had. It's pretty common that people don't even know they have them because, I mean, they nag. It just seems like you've got a sore muscle, but it's actually a fracture, a light fracture. I like that, Bucky. That's funny. So Bucky says, I believe that Brad rocked a villain mantra in response to the league owners colluding against running backs while he planned to take a running back in the first round, making him a villain to the rest of the NFL. So morning show on Tuesday. Yeah, possibly. We'll see. Like Wednesday is the most important day for me. So I've got to make sure that this studio is redone, and I got to make sure that I'm prepared for Wednesday because it's going to be a pretty big day, pretty long night, and I want to make sure that I'm prepared. I don't want to be pulling into this not ready. So that was my next question, Bucky. What is the mantra this season? I was just gonna fire with that until someone asked me the other question. Yeah, my Fisk has that previous herniated disc or whatever. See, I would stay away from all the injury guys. I think they learned their lesson with JMO. I don't like having, I don't think I like the Lions having to learn lessons. I think they should just know well enough to stay away. It takes more. Yeah, they were talking about that during the release of the jerseys. Whether that is or is not, we haven't heard yet. We haven't heard what it's going to be this year. I don't think that anyone's had a concrete answer to what the mantra is, but we'll see. Maybe we just need to come up with one and start pushing it. If it takes more, then let's do it. We'll start pushing it. So, all right, I'm going to sign off tonight. You guys, appreciate you guys jumping in tonight with me, talking about Matthew Stafford. What did he really say? I don't think he said much. I think that he said he was a competitor. He's always going to be a competitor. And his job as a competitor was to come in and try to beat the Detroit Lions, and he was unsuccessful. His wife, look, I could really care less what she says. She's got her own podcast and her own voice. There was a lot of things that were said after the fact. I think people were just, they're still hyped up and emotional. And sometimes things don't come out the best or come across the best when you are emotional. Emotional intelligence is hard to learn. But being the fact that he was a 12-year vet for the Detroit Lions and all the good memories that he's given us, I think that's what I'm going to take away. You guys are entitled to your own opinion, what you're going to do and how you're going to walk through life with former players of the Detroit Lions. But that's how I'm going to walk through it. I'm going to walk through it like, dude was a warrior for the Lions, absolute warrior. And that's what I'll remember is all the good times that he gave me, all the smiles, all the laughs, all the comeback wins, and all the times that I could hug my kids when, we were enjoying those moments together, because that's what it's all about to me is football, family, and fun, man. There's nothing better about this sport than bringing family and friends together. And that's why I do this. I mean, that's just really how it all started. And being a loyal Lions member, it's brought me a lot more than just talking football, right? Just watching the game on a Sunday. It's way more than that. It's about family to me. So, all right, you guys, we'll see you definitely on Wednesday. 6:00 is when we're going to start right here on this channel. We're going to be getting into a pretty deep draft conversation and going through a lot of the picks. Every single Detroit Lions pick that I'm going to project to them. Whether they have 7 picks, 3 picks, 10 picks, who knows? You'll find out Wednesday what I'm thinking. We'll do a full first round for every team. And then once we're through that, we're going to talk more about the Detroit Lions and their picks. And then we're going to be doing jersey giveaways. We got 4 lined up. If you guys have not bought extra entries, look, it's going to be wide open until 5:59 p.m. is when the drum closes. So if you donate after the fact, they will not count because I can't add it in. It'll be done. But it's up to you if you want to do it. Visit the Buy Me a Coffee. There's a way you can do it there. The link is in the description of this video. If you want to do super chat like James just did, those will get added in for your entries. So that's it for tonight's episode. What did Matthew Stafford really say? I think that he just said he still loves Detroit, but when he's wearing his uniform, he's going to compete to kick our butt, or at least try. So far, what is he, 1-1 now? I think that they're 1-1. 2021, Jared lost in LA. 2023, Rams lost in Detroit. 2024, that's going to be the tiebreaker. Who's going to win? I think that's the conversation, right? The tiebreaker. Who's going to win? I already know, but we'll see what happens on that day. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Just pay attention to the updates. If I do post something, it will hit the channels and you'll be notified if we're going to do the Rise and Grind morning show on Tuesday, or if I'm still going to be prepping. We'll see how it goes. But until then, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night.